I think you seem to be on that track from what I can tell. Your husband seems to he seems to be in the going down the right set of tracks.
Hmm.
You know, Mallory's doing that. You know, Michael, he's doing that. But that's what life's all about. You know?
Do
And
you
then
think if you had pushed it off and pushed it off, would you do you think you would have done
no,
no? Because you
wouldn't
were
have.
you were raising heifers and sheep and vegetable farm and all that on the side
Yeah,
while you were doing
on the side. Yeah, on
um
the side. Yeah, I was doing all of that on the side. I would take my vacation, I would take my vacation so I could have time to put the hay up. So we'd try to look at the weather. I can I take off next week because we got weather to make hay. You know, back then we didn't have a round bale, or all we had was a square bale, so you got to make dry hay, right? Yeah.
So it sounds like to anyone that is on the fence, just go for it.
Go for it.
If the belief is there, go for it.
Go for it. Don't sit there and because you're afraid to do it or something. No, just go do it. You're not gonna get another chance. What do we get? In round numbers, what do we get? 80 years, right? Just about, give or take.
Yep.
Some people get a little less, some people get more. God was just why was it was so funny. This woman, she was complaining to her congressman because she's 106 and she was tired of being badgered every time she flew on the airlines. She was tired. I'm 106. What are you bothering me about? She got hold of her congressman. Oh yeah, just and it doesn't matter. I mean, you the person gonna become whatever it is, and don't do it. And don't do something because okay, if you don't have passion for it, but you got this opportunity to make something that's going to make you a bunch of money, but you don't like doing it, what are you doing? You're wasting you're wasting your time.
I think that is sage advice. That's
Yeah, you're
100%.
wasting your time. Yeah.
Um, to so as a farmer, that profession is also brings you joy, but can you give us a little bit insight into your other passions and hobbies? I know you did a lot of backpacking when you were younger, NASCAR racing, cooking delicious meals.
Well, yeah, when I was younger, um, I was I did yeah, I hiked almost the entire Appalachian Trail. I did a bunch of other backpacking. I did solo winter backpacking. The book that you gave me, the one about I get the title about the comfort.
Hmm. The
Okay,
comfort crisis.
the comfort crisis. Well, in there where he talks about when you are physically pushed to that point. I have experienced what he writes in that book about. It's been a lot of years since I've experienced that, but I have a couple times in my life I've experienced that. And I don't know, it was like when I was younger and into that, it was like really important to me. And then when I started dating your mother, it was I took her on one hike up to Bear Mountain, day hike, and it was definitely not her cup of tea. So it kind of like, that part of my life it, it kind of slid off. You know, I was working, I was making money. Then we got married, and then you guys came along, and you know, it was life changed.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind that, and I mean, to take nothing from you or Michael, but just so happens that Mallory was the first. Well, having her come into my life saved me. It focused me on what was important, and yeah, because I was making all kinds of money, and but yeah, having Mallory definitely saved my life.
Well, that's why she's number one.
Just yeah, no, it is just because he's number one and you're number two and he's number three. No, no, I say that to people. I relate that to people, and they look at me like, I said, no, 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 they're not. They're not number one and number two and number. No, that's just their. It's chronological. It has nothing to do with anything else. And there's no number four, number five.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, oh man. Well, I think we have about 5 more minutes on this. Do you have any closing thoughts that you want to add, Dad?
about yeah, if a person wants to, you, you need a person when you're young. You need to focus on how do you want to spend your life? Not how much beer are we going to drink this coming weekend, or what, we're going to go blast around on some boat or whatever. What do you really want to do with your life? Figure that part out, and then, but a lot of people never consciously, a lot of people don't consciously think about that. Michael's thought about that for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you obviously you have, and Mallory has.
Mhm.
A lot of people, they never do that. They get sidetracked into drinking and drugging and all the other stupid things that human beings engage in. You know. But yeah, find something that you really want to do and go for
It's it almost seems too simple to be true, but
it. It it is. It is. It is. It, it's not hard. It's common sense.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I guess what I'll do is I'll we speak on the what we have, all the different projects and improvements and everything that we've got going on for the farm. We've I have been successful in acquiring some grants. One of them is we through the Cornell University, they have a dairy acceleration program, and we through that we have gotten a nutrient management plan written for the farm. Basically, what that does, it's a very valuable tool for growing all of our crops and stuff. The fields, all the different fields, their soils are tested, so we know what we're working with. So we don't put too much fertilizer on, or we put enough on to grow, or the proper use of our manure. So we have that update for that plan is in the works. We, along with that, I've got um, through Cornell, we got a grant for the initial engineering for a manure storage, because we we've gone from semi-solid manure to a liquid manure. The the days of spreading manure every day, we haven't done that in quite some years. The uh, the manure is all going to be it's all captured in this pit. Through the engineering, we found out that we don't have the right kind of clay, so this pit is going to that we are going to hopefully have. I think we're tentatively looking at construction in 26, hopefully. Um, Through the Natural Resource Conservation Service, we can get funding for 80% of it. Then there's another grant that will come up. We'll pick up the other 20% because this storage is going to be will give us capacity to have 9 months storage of our manure from the barn. It gives us flexibility if we have bad weather on either the spring or the fall, because that's typically when you spread the manure. That's at the start of the growing season, uh, like after first cutting hay, you could take some, but the bulk of it is done in the spring and the fall. So we would have a properly engineered manure storage. I have gotten a another grant which we've successfully applied for is an interseeder, which would right now we grow this machine will allow us to plant cover crops um, in between, for instance, the um, corn that we would come along in, let's say, June. The corn's roughly a foot tall, and we can plant the cover crop um, with this machine, and the cover crop will grow and get established underneath the corn. And then when the corn is harvested, we now have a good stand already growing. The idea with these cover crops is to hold the soil, to capture any unused nutrients. The that for we put down either fertilizer or manure for the corn or the soybeans. So whatever is not used by those two crops, the cover crops come along and capture those nutrients so they grow. And then when we terminate the cover crops and we roll those back into the ground, now we get another chance of using those nutrients, protects the groundwater from getting um, contaminated with excess nutrients, protects the surface water because then you're not going to have so much runoff. So we've got that. That grant is going to allow us to buy this machine, which is I think it's about $60,000, and then they're going to give us a 5 year incentive contract to plant cover crops on up to 500 acres a year at the rate of $83 an acre. So they're really incentivizing this. In this part of the world, almost nobody grows cover crops.
Okay.
in this part of the world. Yeah, in some watersheds, for instance, if you're if you have a farm around the Chesapeake Bay, they're all those farmers are all forced into doing it because they're trying to because of the pollution that they've identified coming from the farms. And anyhow, but we have that going in. That's going to happen. I think the only holdup on the interceder is because they're short of lawyers in Albany, so they have to write the contract. So I don't expect that we're going to have that machine. We're not going to have that in place um, until next growing season, be 26. But that doesn't stop us from growing. That's not stopping us from growing cover crops because we planted over 200 acres of winter rye this past fall. Some of that we're going to harvest for um, seed, um, so we won't have to buy the winter rye seed again. And then um, the straw gets baled. Uh, People, there's a market for nice, good, clean straw, and then some of that seed, if we don't need it, then that could be run through the grinder mixer that Michael got and fed to the pigs.
Okay.
So we have that. We're waiting. We don't know. The New York State put out a dairy modernization grant program to upgrade the on-farm storage of milk and uh, any other projects which would add to energy savings. So we should hopefully know. I guess they're going to award those grants by the end of June, and we put in to replace the existing bulk tank with a 2,000-gallon bulk tank with a new plate cooler, with a preheater to capture the heat in the milk and use that to preheat the water going into the hot water heaters. So uh, give us it would give us basically if we're at maximum capability, if we had every stall in the barn filled, we would have we would have the ability to store up to the milk for set. We would have the ability to store 72 hours worth of milk if we had bad storm weather. The roads were closed. The tractor trailer that couldn't get through here. We would be able to hold the milk here for 72 hours. So we put a lot of work into that grant. We should know here a couple of months if we've got that. Um, his his the meat business, which is expanding. We with especially with that we just bought that 1996 Freightliner reefer truck. It's got three compartments on it. It's got a freezer compartment, a refrigerated compartment, and then a dry goods compartment. So that's allowing him to expand the meat sales, and then his hopes of adding carrying other products on the truck. Um, the let's see, yeah, that's the dairy this year. The biggest focus is to get the grazing system. Since I have been in had all of these health issues recently, the grazing system has got to get put back uh, so that it's operational. Because the biggest advantage on a small farm like this is the cows can harvest the feed. We can provide half of their forage for 5 months, and we don't have to burn any. We don't have to turn a wheel. We don't have to turn a tractor on. The cows harvest this. So
Yep.
on a small farm, this is a big financial advantage into the milk production. At some point this year, the right now we don't have any um, buildings. I guess that we would like to have. We'd like to get it so that we could get the have a building so when the sows farrow where so that those piglets could be kept in a nice, clean, and dry environment. Um,
Mhm.
that that needs to come, especially if he this growth, which appears to be coming with these pork. Um, there's no finer. I have not eaten a better pork chop anywhere I have been in my life. Those, what a difference those uh, factor meals there that you
Mhm.
guys were sending here. What a difference between our pork chop and that pork that was definitely raised in confinement housing.
So we need to get
It's
the Ortman Farm pork chop into the factory meal.
in the factory meals. Yeah, there's quite our pork, our pigs are being raised in a very natural environment. Um, pigs were meant God gave them a snout to root with,
Mhm.
and they are uh, it's incredible what they can do. Um, the so we have the getting the our getting our getting the grazing system back up, getting the milk production back up. They're working on getting the meat sales up, the manure storage, which is coming, cover crop interseeder. Um, there is another I think there is another, they've got another grant that's available to see if we can't improve the on farm freezer storage so that we'd have our own walk in freezer here. Um, because the way that it works right now, because of in order to get the animals that need to be processed for the school deliveries, we have to get those done before Tri Town packing gets into the deer season because I'm surprised there's any deer left in the North Country with the amount of deer that they process down there. That's almost all they do for that 2 months during the deer season. I'm, and then people bring them from all over the place.
Oh
For
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So we have that. What else do we have? Yeah, and then the the grain business and hoping another year where we can put up our own, have our own on farm grain storage so that right now we have to sell when we harvest our corn and our beans, we have to send those and we have to sell those at the time when the price is the lowest.
Mhm.
If we have our own grain, we have our own farm storage, then we can sell the corn or the beans when the price the price any commodities the price is up, the price is down. When you look at that, it may not sound like much, but when you take if the price goes up, let's say 30 cents a bushel, and you're sending 20,000, 30,000 bushels at a time, you're talking that's real money.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to have to get a on farm grain storage along with everything else. So we got a lot of projects that we're going to try to get done here. Pretty much the things that we got going on the farm, all the different things, um, yeah.